Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of Bareham Engines. So guys, it's Wednesday and Isaac is either up in the air or there already. So we're without him for a week and a half, unfortunately, but he's left us with a pretty much complete transit motor. So all it's missing is the front cover. And the reason for that is because we had to order this bolt here, and this is the bolt that holds the front pulley to the diesel pump. So there's a taper fit for that pulley onto the diesel pump anyway. This is a left-hand thread, so a little bit of Loctite, do it up FT to the torque setting, and that ain't going anywhere. John has pulled all the pins out, tightened up done the tensioner up, or pulled the pin out the tensioner, and we're ready now, really, to just put the front cover on. So this is a genuine front cover, a Ford one, but what we normally do is scuff up these edges here on the wire wheel because it's nice and smooth. It's a silicone only, there's no gasket on there, so we normally scuff this up and give the instant gasket something to eat into. Otherwise, we've had it where it's leaks before. It's a PTFE seal, so it's got this insert here which fits over the end of the crank, and allows the PTFE seal to sit over the crank without damaging it, because obviously they're very, very delicate. You can see they're almost paper-like. And then there is a gasket in the middle here. And that is about it, guys. So we're going to do that up, send the invoice on, and that is one done that the customer can have back, which is ideal, really. We've got the other Z-Tech bottom end on the stand there. I've got to persist in stripping that soon. And then we've got the Cosy to strip. Now, I haven't even managed to get the bottom end of this stripped, so I want to. It's 2 o'clock now, which is early for us to do a video at 2 o'clock. I'm hoping to get this one pretty much to bits, sump off, etc., and see what's going on in there, see if we can find any, hopefully no horrors, but see what's been happening and see how well this thing has actually been built on the bottom end. Interesting. But over on the mill is a little job I've got to do first. So over there, you can see we've got a bit of a Heath Robinson setup. Now, we have been dealing with an organisation called Roger Bray Restorations, and Roger Bray Restorations do the old Porsches up. And this here is a dynamo holder, a body, which looks like it's got a waterway or something in there. They give us a diagram, and obviously what they do, I think, is fit a different type of dynamo into this body. So the dimensions they've give us here are from the front, we've got to go 142mm centre backwards, and it's a 50mm radius. So we're using our long boring bar here with the tool that I've actually specially ground, because I used to do these all the time, but I haven't had one for blooming ages, and now we've got two to do. So basically, guys, the easiest way for me to set this up, whichever way works, as I always say, we use the G clamps and hold it on there, true this thing up, and then I obviously set the tool going off the back of here, which is my 0, and then obviously in the centre there. Set the tool at 100mm, which is a 50mm radius, and then I just chomp away. So I do it in 2 cuts, because originally, if you take it from the original, we've got to take about 4mm out of this, which is a little bit much for my poor dear cutter there. So what I normally do is in like 2mm cuts. So I do 2mm and then I bring it over and do the other 2mm. So all I do is just lift this up, safety glasses on as usual, and rather than me crouch down and wind the bed up, because obviously there's no automatic feed on this thing downwards, you can see there, we've already done this one and it's at 0 pretty much, so that just basically turns around like that, guys, and then I just feed it manually with my hand downwards and just take nice easy cuts. And all it is to give clearance, because it's obviously the new dynamo is a bigger diameter than the old one, so it just allows it to sit in that recess nice and flush. So what I'll do in a minute, set the other one up, chomp that out, and that's another job done. So the Perkins, looking pretty much done actually, apart from the head and the sump being off. The reason the sump's back off is because John ordered a new oil pump. So if I remove this, you can see the oil pump there. That is, I think that there is the balance, is that balance shafts or something like that? I don't know. But he's ordered a new oil pump. Unfortunately, the oil pump on this wasn't on back order like the rest of the stuff. So it was a 2-day turnaround. Pump's there, pump's on, get the sump on now, head on, and that is another job done. Absolutely ideal. So guys, second half of this video, I've done pretty much what I was hoping I would do today, just so I could put it in a video. I haven't spoke to the owner, Steve, yet, but I'm sure he's going to be watching this video, and no doubt tomorrow he's going to be on the phone having a chat, a little bit excited about this. Why, may you ask? Well, from the last video, we've obviously took the head off, had a little look, seen that we've got this gasket down here, which is an Athena gasket. These are a multi-layer steel gasket, but they're not like the WRC ones, the Victor Rines ones that we normally use. They come with a separate insert, these Cooper's rings here, which sit on the inside. Now, this particular gasket is actually designed for 2 flat surfaces. And as I explained to you before in the last video, this, I don't know whether you can see that, but this block has been machined for wire rings at some point. So, when Steve bought this engine, although it's done hardly any miles, it was built, as far as he knew, in 2008. So it's like a 15-year-old build. So it was really on the cusp. Obviously, these days we tend to do a few things a bit different, but you tend to find the old school Cosy builds, even the ones that are done right, are done slightly different. We just do little things to improve, but not that they didn't work. They did, and they run big power. So he was a little bit worried that this engine wasn't quite what he thought it was. Now, what he thought it was built in 2008 using all trick bits. It was supposed to have arrow rods in it and all these jazzy bits. So he was a little bit concerned that when we get this thing apart, that it's not going to be what it says it's going to be. We all know that we've stripped them in the past and they have been nothing at all what they're meant to be. And obviously great costs can be involved. So I've managed to get the sump off today. And the good news is, the first thing I notice is it has got the arrow rods in it. I've measured the bores just with a vernier at the moment. I haven't measured them with a bore gauge, so I've got the bore gauge set up, but they are a standard bore and they look pretty original to me. So I suspect that we might be a little bit down on the clearance compared to what we could run. Another good thing that I've noticed, I haven't managed to get all the caps off yet on the mains, and I've only managed to get one conrod out, but the crank is standard, so it's standard main journals, standard big end journals, which is really good. There's a couple of little witness marks on the journal, but nothing disastrous. So what I'm going to be doing is cleaning this up, and I'm going to be checking the running clearance on the setup that we've got at the moment. But at the moment, guys, it's all looking good. The crank does, in fact, look to me like it's had some balance in. Well, it certainly definitely has at one point. So the crank has had some balance in. The rods don't look like they've been balanced, but then these arrow rods never usually need to be balanced. The only thing is with the arrow rods, these are obviously an old arrow rod, which I'm not sure are anything like the new ones. There's a lot of controversy going on with conrods, etc. at the moment. But the arrow rods that I've had on 3 different occasions for 3 different engines have been a bit tight on the big end. So I'm going to be checking that out, making sure that these are all good and running the right clearance. Another thing I've noticed, I mean, obviously we know arrow rods are fairly expensive. These all look good. It has not got the ARP 2000 rod bolts. It's got the ARP 625. So these are the hardcore, very expensive actually. It's about 300 odd quid a set, I think, these big end bolts. So that's good news. We are running standard shells. So these are standard Vandervelde Ford shells actually. So I think at the very least we need to put some competition bearings in this. We may as well while we're at it. But to be honest, the bearing wear doesn't look too bad, considering it's not done too many miles. I mean, I don't know the power it's been running, but they do look like they've had a little bit of a hammering, but nothing too bad at all. So I'm going to go for a motorsport bearing on there. The pistons are a standard Marler type, which nothing wrong with that at all. And it's obviously had the valve pockets in them, so that's pretty good stuff. Now, oil jets, it's been machined down the bottom. These are what they call the WRC oil jets. So these come they come in bits actually, and you have to sort of manufacture them yourself. So you have to braze in this little spout into the body. They come with a big banjo bolt there, and you've got to do the machining in the block to suit. Now, someone's done that. That is a sort of old school thing. There's nothing wrong with them at all. They work, they're brilliant. But these days, I tend to just use the BMW ones. They're off the shelf, you know, a lot cheaper, and they do the job. But that's what it's had in, so that's good news. As I say, the crank being standard is brilliant, because even if it doesn't polish up, we can grind it. We've got plenty of meat on there. But I suspect, hopefully, if we're running the right clearance, we can get away with a polish on that, so that'd be magic. So yeah, at the moment, guys, it's a typical old school build. So I would say this was done, most of this was done prior to 2008. It was probably built again in 2008. Whether those rods were put in then, I'm not sure. But obviously someone's changed the head gasket. They haven't faced the block, so that was on its way to blow in. I would have thought it's probably blew before it's done on this. But those Cooper's rings, the trouble you've got is because we've got the machined groove in the block there, these rings are not serving their purpose, so they're designed to squish up and create a really good seal around the firing, but these are just being pushed into that groove where the old sort of welding wire, if you like, would have been. And originally they would have used a Group A fibre gasket that sort of eats into that wire ring that they insert into the block. So been done very least 2 different occasions. Maybe the second time they've put the rods in, slightly uprated. This Athena head gasket's a fairly newish thing, so they probably put that on there. Another good thing which he was worried about, I haven't stripped this head at all. He said that it should have double valve springs, etc. in there. And I can see that it's got some pretty trick spring tops. So I'm looking forward to getting the head apart, but I suspect, looking at that, it's probably got the old valve springs in there, which is a good thing. So yeah, Steve, if you're watching, which I'm pretty sure you will be, I think you've struck lucky here. What we're going to be doing, I'm going to have a chat with him, because he said when it ran, it didn't use any oil, didn't smoke, it ran absolutely lovely, no noises or anything like that. So if we measure these bores, we may have half a thou to a thou to take out or play with, so we might, if they measure perfect, I could give him the option of sort of opening these out very slightly, maybe put another set of rings in and use these pistons, because they've had the work done. They've even got the little groove there someone's put in the back for the oil squirters, because 1 and 3 are different to 2 and 4, so the jet's on the other side, whereas they come with a groove on one side as standard. So yeah, it's had all the work. I'll give him the option. At the end of the day, I'm not one of these that's out to sort of sell everything just unnecessarily. If we can salvage stuff, the crank's been balanced, but obviously we're going to have to balance it to his flywheel and clutch, because I doubt that very much that has been balanced to those, and we may as well while it's all out. So yeah, pretty good news, I would have thought, and I would have thought Steve will be very happy to hear that. But we are going to be obviously cleaning this thing thoroughly up, whatever we decide to do. We're going to change the studs, going to modify the drilling and tapping and put the ARP stud and nut kit in there. These are a fairly old school thing. You can make them work, it's okay, you can sort of bury them in, but we may as well go for the new studs, because we don't know the history of them. We don't know obviously where they come from, how many bloody engines they've been in. They get passed around, these things. So I think we'll leave it for there, guys. Leave it there for today. Hopefully, beginning of next week, we're going to have the bottom end for this Land Rover, and it would be quite nice if in similar sort of time, we'd maybe be able to shift that Land Rover. But there we go. So yeah, until Friday's video, guys, I will have this one completely stripped and we will know exactly what we've got, but it's looking pretty good for Steve. Ideal. Good news. So until Friday's video, have a great evening. We'll see you then. Cheers, guys.